Negotiation secret number one, and that is start with no.
Start with no. That is one of the first pieces of advice that I always say. Never say no. That's the advice. Never say no. So I'm super curious on where this is going.
Start with no. Instead of going into a scenario, going to a negotiation that, oh, I got to close this deal. I have to get this deal. The minute you are not attached, the minute you start with no, it's almost like I expect this is going to go well, but at the same time, I'm not attached. I call that walk away power. The minute you say, you know what? It would be nice if we do this deal, but I'm perfectly okay if we don't do the deal. So the minute you are okay to walk away from the deal, then the other party, the person that you are negotiating with, can feel that, hey, you're not needy, you're not desperate, you're here to work out a win-win deal.
Okay. All right. So he had me scared there a little bit. I always teach people that you can negotiate without ever having to say no again. If someone asks you, if a customer asks you for a term or a condition or a certain price point and you first blurt out no, that's a conflict word. And conflict starts getting the customer all going, and they're going to fire back some conflict at you. And if a negotiation breaks down into conflict, there's no room to cooperate. So when I first heard Dan say, start with no, I thought he was going to actually be saying no to the person across the table. And that's exactly the opposite of what I teach. But what Dan is actually saying, which I agree with to a point, that if you're so comfortable and confident and relaxed, and if you don't really need the sale, then you can go in there saying no or comfortable walking away from that situation, because if it doesn't happen, it doesn't really impact you that much. I think that's true if you're set financially, if you aren't under the gun for hitting your quota, your boss isn't on you, then you can say, sure, no problem. I'm so relaxed, I can walk in there, and if you say no to me, that's no problem.
That's very, very good. So start with the no in your mind first, so you're not attached. So that's secret number one. Secret number two, and that is always find the hidden motive.
Okay, so I still am sort of hung up on this, because right when I hear someone say start with no, that conflict word already gets me fired up, because my whole negotiating approach is yes, if. Another thing that he's talking about, when you're comfortable just saying no, you're comfortable if it doesn't work out. And again, I'll disclaim that a little bit. That says, I want you to go into negotiation hoping it works out. I want you to navigate towards a yes. But there's actually something that he's talking about here where you're comfortable saying no. And it's really around what's known as establishing your walk away point, or said another way, your BATNA, B-A-T-N-A, BATNA. Before I get into BATNA, let me just first introduce myself. My name is Andy Olen, and I've sold and marketed about $4.5 billion of products all around the world. And after working for 20 years in corporate America, I just wanted to do my own thing. I jumped out in 2019, said it's time to start my own business. And I jumped up on the TED Talk stage. I wrote a book. I have my own podcast. And I teach business people simple actions that will create big results for them. And I'm very proud, as I mentioned, to have had sold and marketed over $4.5 billion as part of corporate world, or corporate America, if you will, Fortune 100 companies that I work for. But it's been the thrill of my life to work with amazing clients in Fortune 500 companies around the globe. Back to BATNA. What Dan was saying, he was actually talking about a negotiation best practice, which is called BATNA. B-A-T-N-A. It's your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And great negotiators think about their BATNA. And let me unpack that with an example here. You see Mia, the salesperson, on the right-hand side of the picture, Isaac, the customer, on the left-hand side of the picture. And Mia's thinking to herself, if I can't get to an agreement with Isaac, am I just going to be comfortable and a no's okay and I'm financially independent enough and I can go on to the next opportunity, or it doesn't really matter if my boss is all over me to get this deal closed? What she's thinking about in terms of a BATNA, if I can't get to a deal with Isaac, what's my best alternative? Well, it might be the 3 other clients that I have negotiations with on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. So if I don't get to a closed deal with Isaac here, no problem. I'm just going to move on to the other clients that I have ready to go. So that's a good salesperson's BATNA. It establishes the walkaway point, or where Mia in this situation realizes she's not going to get a deal done, or the ideal deal done, with Isaac. For a customer, for Isaac in this situation, his BATNA is being like, hey, if Mia, I can't cut a deal with you, I'm going to go over to Andy and I'm going to talk to Andy because he's offering me a deal too. So sometimes Mia's competitors, or a salesperson's competitors, create a BATNA or another alternative for the customer, and you got to be really aware of that. The cool thing about BATNA is when you incorporate it into your negotiation best practices and to the work you do prior to getting into the negotiation, you can feel a bit more comfortable about, hey, these are the parameters, these are the boundaries of where this negotiation goes. And if I can't get to a deal, then I do have some other alternatives that will help me out. And so I think that actually, for most salespeople who aren't riding around in a Rolls Royce like Dan, yeah, if you have the Rolls Royce kind of money out there, you don't need to win every negotiation. The next one's just going to come for you, and it doesn't really matter anyway. So I would rather have you start with BATNA and have a prepared BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, before you walk into that negotiation. That's going to give you more confidence and comfort than just this sort of laissez-faire approach of feeling like, hey, if it doesn't work, no problem, because I don't think that's the reality for 99.9% of negotiators.
In other words, what motivates this person? What motivates this party? Not what they say, hey, this is what I want these things, but deeper. What's the motive behind it, right? What's the motive behind the motive? They might say they want this, they want that, but what is it? They might say, oh, I want this price. Anything less than that, I'm not going to say yes to. Well, is it price, or is it something else? Could it be that if they don't do this deal, there's some kind of deadline, there's urgency that you may not be aware of? So if you take a little bit of time and do your research, or you ask, if you know how to ask good questions, or you just find out maybe from the people around them what motivates this person. What are the hot buttons? Once you find that, when you're going in and you are not attached, but at the same time you've done your homework. Negotiation very often is about doing your homework, right? Whoever does the most amount of homework about the other person, you will have an edge.
Yeah, I agree with that. So what he's talking about there is the importance of preparation. And there's a subtlety to here that I want to add a little bit more to, that is that what you do before the negotiation is super important. And that's actually called the sales process. So let's take the view of a salesperson here, a salesperson ultimately negotiating with a customer. Most transactions, if they're simple transactions for a product or service, or complex transactions for a product or service, it takes some time before you get to the negotiation table. And that time before is part of your sales process. You might say hello to the customer for the first time. You might introduce yourself. You might spend some time just building a relationship before you even start to detail what it is your product can do. Oh, and by the way, important to know where the customer's pain points are, what issues they face. And in this area, and this is absolutely right, Dan is encouraging people to negotiate understanding the deeper issues or the deeper opportunities or what motivates that customer. Perfect. You need to find all of that out before you negotiate. You need to find out all those things before you negotiate, because if you're at the negotiating table and you don't know the pain points or what is motivating that customer, you're too late. And what's going to happen is that customer is going to make it all about price, and you're going to be screwed, because then you're just going to be defending price and you have no other levers to pull or push that will help you broaden out the negotiation and hopefully balance things out so you can create a win-win deal. Dan mentioned a win-win outcome. I actually think it's a triple win outcome. And a great negotiation gets you to a win for you, if you're the salesperson, a win for your business or your company. Your company's got to win too, right? It's like you can't just enjoy the fruits of success without your company feeling it that way. And sometimes salespeople just think that completing the negotiation is good enough. Well, the company needs to recognize some profitability off that negotiation as well, maybe some growth also. So it's got to be a win for your company, and yes, a win for your customer as well. And it can be all of those things. Those are not mutually exclusive goals. It's not a win. One party wins, the other loses, and it's a zero-sum game. No. I believe actually in a great cooperative negotiation, everyone can win. And in order to start to feel your way through and figure out what is important in a negotiation, I teach the style called yes if negotiating, where I can say yes to all of your opportunities and your needs if you can also say yes to me. Yes, I can do that price if you can do this volume with me. Yes, I can give you those payment terms if we close the deal today. And in a yes if negotiation back and forth, you are doing what I call trading value for value. And I think about trading baseball cards when I was young, that when I wanted to get a couple cards to complete a set, or maybe some of my favorite Milwaukee Brewers baseball cards, I'd get together with my friends. We'd put our cards out in front of each other, actually show each other our cards, and we would start to trade back and forth. Hey, can you do this Paul Molitor rookie card if I give you 2 Robin Yount rookie cards? It might be a trade like that. And if both parties agree, then hands shake and cards are exchanged, and we traded back and forth. And those are some of the healthiest negotiations in my life. And in business, I follow the same approach. Yes, I can do that for you if you can do this for me. And that's trading value for value. And so what Dan was talking about in the video is right. You do have to find out what motivates your customer. If it's just price, it's going to be a really difficult negotiation for you. It's likely more. It's going to be price and something else. And one of the best practices that I like to use is called the trading sheet, where you prepare and you think about all the things your customer is going to ask you for: price, terms, maybe payment terms, legal terms, other financial terms. Maybe they're going to ask for your training time. They're going to ask for free shipping. They're going to ask for discounts, rebates, all that kind of stuff. List it out. And then you also have to be able to trade value back and forth. So what are the things that are important for you? Well, if a customer asks for price, maybe it's asking for more volume. If they ask for a rebate, maybe you want to bring new products into the negotiation and expand the scope of the negotiation. So you have legal terms, you have finance terms. All those things come together in the preparation exercise, the trading sheet. And if you've done your sales process well, like Dan talks about, if you understand what motivates the client, the customer, then you're going to be able to broaden out the negotiation and be able to trade value for value.
That's secret number 2. Secret number 3, and that is ask for the moon. Ask for the moon. So imagine you are negotiating about a particular deal. So when you just ask and say, hey, I want this. Well, no, I'm not going to give you that. Well, I want this. Well, I'm not going to give you that. Now you are fighting over this one thing, right? It either becomes a yes or no kind of scenario. Instead, when you are asking something, ask for the moon. Meaning this. Let's say there are 10 things. Let's say there are 3 things that you want out of this scenario, right? Out of this negotiation. Don't ask for 3, ask for 5 or 10. So when you're negotiating, you say, okay, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I want these 10 things. The other party would be like, they would freak. They were like, no, that's crazy. I'm not gonna give you like these 10 things. You're insane. There's no way. There's no deal to be made here, right? And you're like, well, So what could you do? Well, I'm not gonna give you 10 things. You know, the most I could give you is like 4 things, or 5 things, or 3 things. Good. Because those are actually the 3 things that you want in the beginning. So when you ask for the moon, you give them a little bit of leeway to negotiate, to kind of hackle, right? To knowing, hey, you're not going to get it all, but if you get half of it, you get 1/3 of it, you're happy. And that's what you want in the beginning anyway. That's
okay. Ask for the moon. You're asking for everything right away. I agree with some of that. I don't agree with all of that. Let's go back to that trading sheet example that I just shared. If I were to walk in and show the customer my preparation work, as you can see here on the screen, and show all the trades I'm willing to make. This is what I want. Legal terms, I want finance terms. I want you to pay for shipping. I want you to take title of the product immediately once it leaves my dock. I want indemnity. I want limits on liability. I want favorable terms here and terms there. I want all these things. Yeah, you're going to get a pretty violent reaction from your customer. No way am I giving that to you. The other thing that you've done is you've put all your cards on the table in front of your customer. Now, in my baseball card analogy, sometimes when you see sort of the breadth and depth of your set of baseball cards with your friend, your buddy across the street, that's no problem. You can show some of your cards. I wouldn't show all my cards in a big time formal negotiation right away. Why? A couple of reasons. One, because if you give them a chance to see everything on your trading sheet, you might run out of trades and they may still have 15 more requests from you. And then all of a sudden you don't have any more trades. You got to go back to your boss and say, I ran out of my trades. I need more. And then you're likely giving away really valuable things like price or really important T's and C's, terms and conditions. I like to go back and forth one trade for another. If my customer asks me for this, I'm going to respond with something of equal value. I go and I look at my trading sheet and I say, oh, you know what? They're asking me for something that is illustratively worth $50,000 in this 10-year contract. I'm going to find one trade or maybe two trades at most that will offset that $50,000 ask. So if I give something of $50,000 in value, I want to trade or yes, if my way into something worth $50,000 on my side as well. And if I show them all of my trades up front, if I ask for the moon, I can run out of things to trade back and forth. Really good negotiators, when you're sitting across from them, are going to have many requests. I would say start trading one thing at a time, two things at a time. Keep it simple. Get a rhythm going, establish a rhythm. And at some point, they might say, that's all I have that I need from you, Andy. I'd be like, fantastic, great. And I might have been willing to give 10 more things on my list, but because I didn't show them that, they don't know to keep going there. So I think a little bit of privacy, a little bit of confidentiality on what your trades are fine, and I think that's good. So I wouldn't give away the moon right away. However, I would be ready to go back and forth trading value for equal value.
The outcome that you want, right? So ask for the moon, but when you do it, you gotta practice, right? You gotta practice almost with a strict face, right? You gotta practice with negotiating. It's very, very professional, right? But also believe that you're not asking a lot because like you're greedy or anything like that. It is, hey, you want to get the best deal, right? Everybody wants to get the best deal. At the same time, once you've done your research, you've done your homework, you know what the motives, what are hidden motives that they have, then you can make it a win-win. Because
triple win, not a win-win. Triple win outcome, a win for you, a win for your company, and a win for the customer. And yes, everyone's jumping off their couch just like these kids when you get the triple win outcome. Maybe teenagers there.
Here's what I did early on in business that I think was wrong. That I was always trying to make it almost like I always win and other people lose. And you might be able to do that if you have enough power. But the problem is people don't come back. They don't want to do business with you again.
Totally agree with that. If you use power, conflict, crisis inside of a negotiation, chaos, 3 C's I don't like: conflict, crisis, and chaos. If you use those and try to dominate your customer, you may win that moment, you may win that negotiation, but you will have destroyed your partnership. Cooperation, connection, great communication, those are the opposite 3 C's. You do that, you're going to win. Totally agree with that. Totally agree that when the relationship matters, if you pound your negotiating customer or person on the other side of the table into submission, you'll destroy the partnership.
So then you might think you win short term, but long term you actually don't get any repeat business. You definitely don't get referrals.
Yes.
You won't have a very good reputation. So in the beginning of my business career, I was a very hard, tough negotiator, and now I'm actually much softer. I'm much more easygoing because I think now coming from a place of abundance, hey, you know what? I don't need to grab all the chips on the table. I don't need to win all the time. I can make it a win-win. In fact, I would not do a deal nowadays if it's not a win-win.
Awesome. Find win-win deals. Find even triple win deals, and your negotiation success, your joy in negotiating, and your success for your business, for you, for your career, for your income, whatever it may be, what motivates you, is going to go up. And I don't think I don't think cooperation needs to come just from a place of abundance. Like Dan said, like once he had enough money, he could then be relaxed. Be relaxed now. Be relaxed through great preparation. Get in there, negotiate. Think about how you cooperate, together, operate to work, how you cooperate to get things done with your customer. Create that triple win outcome. And you don't have to have abundance or financial independence to be successful using that approach, because here's the secret, that when you do it the way Dan's talking about it, and we're just coming at it from different directions and angles, you're going to be super successful and you will create abundance for yourself.
That if I win, I want you to win, I want everybody to win. Because this way, then you feel good. When you feel good about deal, you're more likely to do another deal, and then another deal, and then another deal, and another deal, right? So then you're more likely to do that. So I would say those 3 secrets, but combine that, always strive for
the triple win outcome. Good video overall. I give this a 8.5 out of 10 rating. I think this is spot on. I think there's just some tweaks. Remember the BATNA. Remember BATNA being best alternative to a negotiated agreement. That's going to put you more at ease. You don't think like you have to go in and say no. Go in with a BATNA. That's superior to a no. Understanding your customer motivation, yes, but also building that trading sheet, running a really good sales process prior to getting into that negotiation. That's going to be super helpful. And then striving for that triple win outcome. A win for you, a win for your company, a win for your customer. You really will enjoy negotiations. The only thing I disagree with, where I give him a 0.83 points off, is asking for the moon. I wouldn't share all my trades right away. I'd go back and forth one trade for another, and you'll be able to get after it. If you like this stuff, the yes-if mindset is the way that I teach negotiation skills. AndyOlen.com is where you can learn more about that. I love teaching negotiation skills for some of the biggest transactions with tech companies and banks and healthcare organizations and skincare organizations, teaching salespeople and business leaders how to negotiate using cooperative negotiations. My name is Andy Olen. Thanks again for joining today, where we talk about simple actions that lead to big results today, negotiations. And remember, you can say yes to all of your customers' requests if you're also asking for value in return. See you soon.